There are places that don't need words. Places where silence isn't empty, but language. Where the wind blows not to move forward, but to remember. In the far north of Europe, where Norway melts into frost and light seems eternal or absent, life continues its course without asking permission. It is a territory sculpted by slowness, glaciers that advance like ideas, fjords that breathe mist, plateaus that open to the sky with the patience of those who have waited for centuries. There, under the weight of winter, the world doesn't stop. It reinvents itself. A silhouette silently crosses the clearing. A pair of eyes peers out from between branches. A white body disappears into the snow, as if it had never been there. Everything is subtle. Everything is alive. The Arctic fox glides across the ice like a secret. The walrus sleeps on the shore with the gravity of a living rock. High above, the puffin returns each year to the same crevice in the cliff, as if the sea were guiding it by memory. And far away, among silent trees, something moves with the step of one who has seen entire winters. Perhaps a wolf, perhaps silence. Here, beauty isn't shown, it's sensed. There's no urgency, there's no excess, only adaptation, rhythm, necessity. The seasons aren't seasons, they're rules. Summer lasts as long as the daylight. Autumn is silent, winter demands. And spring arrives without colors, but with signs. A slow thaw, a feather in the wind, a song in the white dawn. None of this seeks our attention. There are no spectacles. There are no scripts. And yet, everything that matters happens. To see it, you have to stop, slow down, listen more than what's being said. Trust what isn't shown. Because in this ancient and wild Norway, every corner holds a story that doesn't need to be told, only perceived. Every creature is a response to a climate, a soil, a hope, and every undisturbed step we take is a bridge to something deeper than curiosity, belonging. Get ready to see Norway through different eyes, not through those who seek, but through those who learn to see. Atlantic puffin. At the northernmost reaches of the world, where Norway's shores break into a mosaic of islands, cliffs, and mists, rock fortresses rise from the sea like ancient guardians of the Arctic. There, where the sky merges with the ocean in a liquid, uncertain horizon, the echoes of the wind and the harsh cries of thousands of birds resonate. It is spring in Lovund, Hornøya, and Rost, and the air is filled with the buzzing of tiny, vibrant wings. The Atlantic puffin has returned. For 8 months a year, this creature disappears from human sight, merging with the icy waters of the North Atlantic. Without touching land, it lives like an oceanic nomad. It floats among the waves, sleeps rocked by the tide, dives among invisible schools of fish. In this shoreless world, the puffin is not a bird. It is a fish. Its wings, which beat furiously in the air, transform underwater into fins that propel it with surgical precision. It flies beneath the sea like a comet in search of food, swirling among bubbles, disappearing amidst the currents and ebbs. And yet, when the sun bends its light over the northern cliffs, when the snow recedes and the tundra begins to timidly green, an ancient force calls him back. He crosses unthinkable distances, guided by a map that cannot be seen or shown. And he always arrives, to the same island, the same cliff, the same burrow, and if fate allows it, to the same partner. Its body, as it rests on the harsh Arctic earth, seems carved by a capricious artist. Its head is round, its plumage is two-tone, its back is as black as a polar night, its belly is as white as foam, and then, that beak, a fiery symphony of oranges, reds, and blues that burst forth with the mating season, as if spring were painting its face. Only during those days does its beak shine like that, like an ephemeral flower. Then, life extinguishes it again, and it remains dull, almost gray, until love's next call. Courtship is a subtle ceremony. There are no songs, no noisy dances, just two beaks seeking each other, and brushing against each other in a greeting that seems like a kiss. They rub against each other, look at each other, recognize each other. It is billing, an intimate gesture that unites, that renews a bond that often lasts a lifetime. Together, they excavate a gallery in the damp earth of the cliff. A dark, narrow tunnel where they will incubate a single egg, where the chick will await the return of its parents who sail across the sea. In the air, the puffin is a contradiction. Its short wings and stubby body seem unmade for flight. But they do. And how they do. They fly like gusts, flapping up to 400 times per minute, reaching dizzying speeds. They soar through the sky with the same energy with which they dive. But upon landing, the prodigy turns into comedy. They stumble, fall, roll, and crash with clumsy grace into the moss. Like acrobats who forget their final step, their descent is more fall than flight. And yet they try again and again. At sea, they are silent hunters. They don't use their feet to propel themselves like other diving birds. They use their wings. They glide through the depths with a style reminiscent of penguins, although much smaller, much more agile. Their eyes, adapted to water, detect the silvery gleam of fish, and their beak, armed with spines on the roof of their mouths, allows them to do the unheard of. Catch one fish, then another and another, without letting go. They fly back to the nest with up to 10 prey lined up like glittering beads, a spectacle of efficiency and tenderness, because each one of those fish will be for their offspring. The chick, hidden in the darkness of the burrow, waits. It won't see the light until it's time to fly. It receives food, warmth, protection. And when the time comes, it will emerge on its own from the edge of the abyss, spread its still clumsy wings, and launch itself. There is no lesson, no rehearsal, just a leap into the unknown. The puffin is also a vital link in its ecosystem. A predator of small fish, it maintains marine populations in balance. Preyed on by larger birds, it is part of that eternal dance between hunter and hunted. On land, its guano fertilizes the islands, nourishing the vegetation that grows on the edges of the cliffs. Its presence heralds a healthy ocean, its absence alarming. But their future is uncertain. In many North Atlantic colonies, their numbers have fallen by half. Warming waters are pushing fish to latitudes where puffins can't follow them. Industrial fishing is depleting food banks, and plastic pollution is invading their bodies. Microplastics have been found in their stomachs, remnants of a human world that permeates even the birds' freest roots. In Norway, they still resist, still winged multitudes in Lovend, still celebrating their return every April 14th as a miracle. But the silence is growing, and yet the puffin keeps coming back, year after year, with spring, with the tide, with memory. Its flight is brief but determined, its landing clumsy but brave. Its song is barely a muffled grunt, but its mere presence moves, because there's something about this tiny being, half fish, half bird, that encapsulates the poetry of the North, the fidelity without noise, the beauty that lasts only a season, the tireless effort to survive in a world that changes too quickly. Perhaps in its fiery beak and oceanic gaze, the puffin carries not only fish, but a story that the Arctic wind still whispers, that of a traveler who never forgets the way back. Moose. Deep in the Norwegian forests, where birch trees tremble in the wind and pine needles whisper ancient secrets, a shadow rises, dominating the landscape with a mixture of majesty and mystery. It is the lord of the boreal forest, a creature that walks among clearings and mists, as if it belonged more to myth than to the real world. There, where the winter light is scarce and silence hangs over the snow like a veil, the moose appears. At dawn, when the frost still slumbers on the lichens, its silhouette emerges from the trees, a colossal figure taller than any horse and heavier than any bear. Its legs, as long as columns, sink elegantly into the deep snow. Its massive body, with thick earthy fur, moves with a deceptive slowness. Beneath that stillness lies the force of thunder. Its withers reach 2 meters. Its thick, taut neck supports a head that seems sculpted to command attention. But nothing draws more attention than their antlers. A fan of living bone that branches out toward the sky as if trying to catch the clouds. No two are alike. Every year the male elk drops them, as if shedding his winter crown, and recreates them, larger, more elaborate. During the rut, they are not just a weapon, they are language. From the base, glands emit chemical signals that spread through the forest, announcing presence, power, and desire. They are antennas of intent, status symbols, visual anthems of a silent battle. Among the swamps and lakes that dot the Norwegian forest, the moose is a natural swimmer. It crosses expanses of water as if its body were weightless, as if the surface were calling it to blur its boundaries. It dives chest deep to pluck water lilies and submerged stems, disappears underwater like a spirit, reappears with a moist, serene gaze. It has crossed entire fjords in search of greener pastures. It swims without urgency, without fear. It is the amphibious monk of the north. Its long, slender legs allow it to move effortlessly where others would be trapped. It can wade through rivers, navigate branches, climb hills, and weave its way through bushes like a living crane. From its high shoulders, it calmly observes the world. Its head, raised above the bushes, peeks out over the road, between cabins, or at the edge of a meadow like a brown beacon amidst greens and grays. Its gait is firm but measured. Each step seems carefully considered. And yet, when the peace is broken, the elk can transform. If it feels cornered, if it senses a threat, its energy unleashes like a storm. It runs at over 50 kilometers per hour. It charges with hooves that crash like hammers into the earth. Its charges have injured men, overturned cars, and left their mark on the northern roads. Beneath its calm, a volcano slumbers, but it rarely erupts without reason. The elk prefers distance, space, and untouched forest. His senses are fine-tuned for wildlife. His ears rotate independently, picking up the crack of a branch hundreds of feet away. His sense of smell cuts through the wind, detecting does, predators, humans, mushrooms, ice. On the darkest nights when the moon isn't out, the moose doesn't get lost. He follows his path between invisible trees. He sees what is unseen. He feels what is unspoken, and he eats. He eats with the patience of a sage. With his 4 stomachs and an almost magical digestive flora, he can ferment willow bark, rowan branches, and the roughest leaves, even in the depths of winter. What for others is poison or sawdust is sustenance for him. A moose's day can include 20 kilos of vegetation, a silent feast that keeps his gigantic body standing. He doesn't seek sweetness or tenderness. He seeks the essential. In the balance of the forest, the moose is a sculptor. By browsing, it shapes the vegetation. By walking, it opens paths. Its presence modifies the ecosystem without words. But it is also a symbol, an image, a part of the culture. In Norway, its silhouette appears on signs, on coins, in stories that children learn before they learn their letters. Every year, thousands are hunted in a regulated manner, harvested for meat, fur, and balance. It is neither an enemy nor a trophy. It is a neighbor, a resource, and a spirit of the forest all at once. However, their history is not without its shadows. Global warming is rising through the valleys and penetrating the boreal forests. Warmer winters mean more parasites, more ticks that infest their skin, especially in young animals. Red deer, which previously couldn't compete, are now gaining ground and displacing elk in some areas. The fjords are warming, aquatic plants are changing, and the northern giant is adapting, but sometimes not enough. On the roads, another danger lurks. A collision with a moose isn't an accident. It's a collision with a moving wall. Every year, hundreds of vehicles are destroyed. On the windshield, the shadow of a being with no brakes, appearing out of nowhere. In drivers' memories, the memory of a moment when nature met asphalt. That's why the triangular sign with the moose silhouette is legendary. A warning that seems to shout, The mountains rule here, and yet the moose persists. It makes no noise. It makes no demands. It simply exists. It glides through fir trees like a moving statue. It crosses rivers like a slow god. It gazes into the distance as if it knows what's coming. It is the Buddha of the forest, slow, strong, profound. It doesn't fear winter because it carries it within. It doesn't flee from silence because it inhabits it. Wherever the Norwegian forest breathes, the moose walks. Sometimes you see it. Sometimes you don't. But it's always there. Fox high in the Norwegian mountains, where the moss clings to the rocks like an ancient whisper and the wind blows relentlessly, lives a creature made of silence. It leaves no visible footprints. It utters no cries. It moves like a secret among the shadows of the ice. It is the Arctic fox, the fjellrev, the ghost of the alpine tundra. Here on the plateaus of Dovrefjell, on the white backs of Rondane, in the remote expanses of Finnmark, and on the icy fringe of Svalbard, it survives like a high note in winter's score. It doesn't need the endless plains of the Arctic to thrive. It prefers the crevices of the rock, the gentle undulations of the high-altitude tundra, the hidden valleys where the snow doesn't melt even under the northern summer sun. Its fur, more than a coat, is absolute camouflage, pure white in winter, as if woven from the same frost that covers the landscape. In summer, it changes to a camouflaged, earthy gray-brown, blending in with the stone, moss, and dry grass. Its transformation is complete, a molt dictated by the light. In the snow, even the most trained eye cannot distinguish it. Its short ears, its densely furred paws, its narrow dark eyes. Everything about it is designed to go unnoticed, to resist, to listen. Barely the size of a cat, the fjellrev is nonetheless a titan of survival. It can withstand temperatures that would make steel surrender. It hunts through storms, slides down frosty slopes, and takes refuge in burrows dug beneath stones unbroken by the ice. Its diet is as versatile as its environment is unforgiving. Small rodents, carrion, insects, eggs, berries. And when there's nothing to hunt, it survives on its own fat, stored like a promise beneath the most insulating fur of all Nordic mammals. But its history in Norway is not just one of adaptation. It is also a slow wound. At the beginning of the 20th century, its fur was a treasure. Its whiteness was worth gold, and like so many other beautiful animals, it was hunted to the brink of extinction. For decades, its numbers fell below the limit. Only a few individuals survived in the silent vastness, like echoes of a species that once reigned over the cold. Today, thanks to human hands that can also heal, their return is possible. Biologists and rangers have placed artificial shelters in the mountains, left food where it is scarce, raised specimens in captivity, and released them where the wind still sings as before. Some wear GPS collars, tiny solar panels that glow in the dawn. They are tracked, cared for, studied. It is a titanic effort to save a tiny being. And yet their threat is no longer rifles, but the invisible tide of the weather. Winter, which was their shield, is shrinking, and with it, their territory. The red fox, their larger and more robust cousin, advances from the lowlands. It displaces them, dominates them, fights them. Where once there was only ice, now there is competition. The fjellrev, lighter, more elusive, more dependent on the cold, retreats. Its only defense is temperature. If it rises, they disappear. In the far north, on Svalbard, the story is different. There, the Arctic fox is king, the only native land mammal. Among glaciers, bird colonies, and remains left behind by polar bears, it finds what it needs. It feeds on stolen eggs, fallen chicks, and forgotten seals. It roams the ice like a hungry shadow. It is accompanied by the sound of cracking, the wind descending from the ice caps, the salty smell of the sea. There are no red foxes there. There, the fjellrev still rules. And yet, even at those margins, the signals change. Melting ice alters routes. Birds shift their nesting sites. Burrows flood earlier than expected. The Arctic chain trembles, and each link, however small, drags another along. In mainland Norway, the Arctic fox is more than an animal. It's a symbol. It stars in documentaries, educational campaigns, and postage stamps. Public television follows it with cameras that shake in the wind. It is shown as an example, a witness. It is often compared to its red counterpart, a living metaphor for climate change. Two colors, two possible futures. Its ecological impact, though silent, is profound. By regulating populations of small rodents like the lemming, it balances the tundra's food chain. As it disperses in search of food, it fertilizes the soil with its waste. As it is occasionally preyed upon by eagles and wolverines, it closes the cycle. And its presence, rare but essential, is an indicator of ecosystem health. Where the fjellrev lives, winter still rules. It's not a powerful hunter, it's not a dominant predator, but it is the spirit of the limit, of endurance, of what remains when all else gives way. In its artificial burrows, young are born that will never know the roar of the hunt, but they will know the cold, the moss, the wind, and that's enough. There's something deeply moving about its shape. Its stealthy gait, its alert gaze, its way of disappearing without a trace. The fjellrev doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek out glances. It simply is. And if the world allows it, it will continue to be. On the top of an ice-covered rock, in the trace of a tiny trail on the virgin snow, in the beating heart of a Norway that still remembers what true winter is. Because when the sun goes down and the polar night covers everything, it's the Arctic fox that remains. Invisible, present, eternal. Lynx. In the deep forests of Norway, where the snow falls like a constant whisper and the trees stand in solemn vigil, there is a being that walks soundlessly. It leaves no lasting footprints. It leaves no trail that lingers. The wind does not betray it. The frost does not break it. It is the boreal lynx, the phantom cat of the north. Where the fir trees rise like the columns of a silent temple, where the moss muffles footsteps and the winter light barely touches the ground, the lynx glides like a thought. Its elusive figure belongs to the realm of absence. It is more likely to encounter a torn prey than to see it. It moves alone, crossing frozen rivers, sleeping slopes, and frost-covered glades. Always alone, always in shadow. Its body is a compendium of wild design, muscular, compact, contained within potential. Its fur changes with the seasons, becoming a dense grayish, almost white layer in winter, dotted with dark spots that blend it with the changing shapes of the forest. In summer, the hue turns reddish, warmer, like the earth beginning to thaw. Its long, broad legs seem designed to float on the snow. It moves forward as if it weren't stepping, as if it didn't exist. Its short tail, tipped black as ink, is a living seal that balances its movements. And its ears, crowned with brushes of dark fur, perk up like sensors that absorb every creak of the forest. His deep amber eyes hold an impossible patience. From the top of a rock or the hollow of a trunk, he watches. The world moves around him, but he waits. He waits for the brush of a paw on the dead leaves, the tremble of a branch, the hesitation of a young roe deer. Then he leaps. He doesn't run. He doesn't chase. He calculates, he attacks, he knocks down. His prey falls before it knows it's been spotted. Mountain rabbits, birds, fawns, even small foxes. His bite is sure, his instinct infallible. But it doesn't repeat itself. It doesn't devour at random. It hunts only what it needs. It can go days without feeding, wandering through the forest, traversing its vast territory in a choreography without witnesses. It is an elegant, detached, almost spiritual predator. Its relationship with life is one of precision, not excess. For most of the year, it makes no sound. Its life is that of one who knows without speaking, of one who observes without being observed. Only in the last days of winter, when the moon rises at its roundest and the cold seems most profound, does the lynx break its silence. It emits a guttural, hoarse call, like the echo of a forgotten language. It is breeding season. During those days, males travel great distances, seeking females who respond from the thicket. They meet, recognize each other, and then, just as they came, they part ways. The cubs are born in burrows hidden under roots, among rocks, or in nooks of thick moss. There, the female silently cares for them. For weeks, the cubs know nothing of the world, only the warmth of their mother's body and the smell of damp wood. Little by little, they emerge. They play. They hop clumsily through the shadows. They learn to hunt, first with insects, then with small rodents. Only one or two will survive. The lynx's childhood is brief, and the forest demanding. Although invisible to most, the lynx plays a decisive role in the balance of the ecosystem. Its presence regulates the populations of small and medium-sized herbivores, which in turn protects new growth, forest regeneration, and the life cycle of plants. Where it hunts, the vegetation breathes. Its trail, however fleeting, leaves order. In the natural chain, the lynx is a hinge, silent but vital. The forest recognizes his passing, even if it doesn't name him. The birds fall silent when he passes. The deer avoid the winds that carry him. Even scavengers, upon finding the remains of their game, respect the way he leaves everything, clean, measured, without cruelty. But it, too, has been vulnerable. For centuries, fear and greed turned it into an enemy. Its fur was coveted. Its presence was considered a threat. At certain times, its numbers dwindled to the point of near extinction. And although it is protected today, its balance remains fragile. Habitat fragmentation, the reduction of its natural prey, and conflicts with livestock farming all threaten its reign of silence. Despite everything, the lynx persists. It returns to where it was once persecuted. It adapts. It expands its range. It crosses night paths, passes under fences, climbs snowy slopes. It returns to inhabit what was once its own. And every time someone thinks they've seen it, a shadow among branches, a golden reflection among ferns, a part of the forest seems to stop in its tracks to pay homage. Seeing a lynx isn't easy, hearing one, even less so. But knowing it's there, breathing the same air, treading the same ground, transforms the perception of the entire forest. It's a presence that dignifies the landscape. It completes it. In the oldest corners of Norway, where trees still stand that have heard tales of ice and moss that recall other ages, the lynx glides. It leaves no applause. It doesn't seek a platform. It just walks. It observes. It hunts. It retreats. It is the guardian who needs no wall, the hunter who needs no war, the spirit that even when no one sees it, keeps the secret pulse of the forest alive. Grey Wolf. In the gloom of the Norwegian forest, where the pines stand in dense rows and the shadows fall heavier than snow, something moves with quiet determination. Not a single step is taken that isn't calculated. Not a single glance isn't charged with purpose. A pair of yellow eyes cuts through the twilight like blades. It's the Grey Wolf. Norway remembers him in its legends. It fears him in its tales. It hunted him for centuries, and now it seeks him with cameras, with drones, with hope. Because he's back. Where before there was only silence, now there are howls. Slow, long, laden with an ancient nostalgia that reverberates in the ravines and survives in the icy breath of the early mornings. He doesn't travel alone. The wolf isn't a solitary shadow. He's a pack. He's a bond. He's a we, written with synchronized steps. In the snow, their footprints don't cross. They align. On the hunt, they don't push each other. They take turns. At night, they don't fall silent. They call to each other. They aren't many, but they're there. Scattered, observant, resilient. In the spaces where the forest is still deep, where the boundary between human and wild blurs, they resist. They don't show themselves. They don't seek witnesses. But every now and then, one peeks out, and the rumor spreads like wildfire. They've seen a wolf. Its silhouette is unmistakable. Taller than a dog, thinner than a bear. Its fur, a mix of grays, ochres, and creams, blends with the moss, the rocks, and the tree bark. There is no dominant color. The wolf is camouflage made flesh. Its long legs, its determined gait, its lowered tail create a figure that doesn't hesitate, that isn't distracted. His gaze doesn't waver. He stares directly, as if analyzing, as if deciding, because the wolf doesn't attack on impulse. He measures. He tests. If he runs, it's because there's a reason. If he flees, it's because his calculations say it's not worth it. His mind is as much a tool as his fangs, and when he decides to hunt, he does so as part of a complex mechanism. The herd unfolds like a living organism. They surround, cut off paths, push. They chase for miles. They don't casually seek out weak prey. They identify them. Reindeer, roe deer, stag. They overcome the toughest trials as a group. They take turns to tire. They separate to divide. They regroup to finish. All with a choreography that isn't rehearsed. It's inherited. And then comes the calm. A frightening calm. Because after the frenzy, the wolf returns to silence. He returns to the forest. To his den hidden among roots and stones. There he cares. He raises. He plays. He loves. Yes, he loves. Because between them there are gestures, caresses, loyalties. The alpha male doesn't impose. He guides. The she-wolf who gives birth does so surrounded by an invisible net of respect. The pups are not only his, they belong to everyone, but that balance isn't visible from afar. What many see as a predator, an enemy, someone who can take a lamb, a goat, and it's true, sometimes it happens, because the wolf, like every living being, seeks to survive, and sometimes hunger crosses barbed wire. That's why its return hasn't been clean. It's been tense, disputed, divided between those who celebrate it and those who fear it. Its history in Norway is marked by the edge. For decades, it was relentlessly persecuted. Its numbers fell to a minimum. Only a few packs survived in remote areas. Today, under legal protection, its population grows slowly, with effort, with conflict. Each group is monitored. Their steps are tracked. Their genes are studied. Every attack is debated. It is perhaps the most politicized animal in the country, a symbol of living nature, and of the discomfort that nature can cause. And yet, their ecological role is irreplaceable. The wolf regulates herbivore populations. It keeps herds healthy by eliminating sick individuals. It relieves pressure on forests, allowing new trees to grow. Even their remains feed crows, foxes, and wolverines. Their trail changes the behavior of the entire ecosystem. Where there are wolves, deer don't graze all day in the same place. They move, they rotate, and the forest breathes better. But there's something else, something that goes beyond their function, their impact, their numbers. The wolf stirs a primal emotion. We feel it in our gut. It reminds us that not everything is under control, that there are still creatures that don't bow down, that don't tame themselves, that don't ask permission. The wolf poses the forest's uncomfortable question: how far are we willing to share? And meanwhile, he continues, without responding, without justifying himself. He hunts during the longest nights. He licks his paws under the ice. He howls under the dawn as if he wanted to awaken memories that slumbered in our blood, because we carry him inside, even if we've banished him. Because without him, the forest doesn't sing the same, nor do we breathe the same. When a wolf appears in Norway, it's not just an animal. It's an echo of an earlier time, the guardian of an ancient order. A reminder that, in some corner of the world, life still follows its own rules. Deep in the Norwegian forest, where lichens carpet the stones and the air smells of damp earth, a deep whisper runs through the undergrowth. It's not the wind, it's not thunder, it's something treading with the weight of history. A slow measured creak, and then, nothing. The silence expands, dense, thick, as if the forest itself were holding its breath. Then it appears. In the green gloom, the imposing figure of the brown bear rises. There is no creature more powerful than him in these lands. Not because of his strength, although he has it. Not because of his size, which is imposing. But because of the way he walks, unhurriedly, fearlessly, without asking permission. He is the silent giant of Norway. He needs no companionship. He seeks no applause. His shadow is enough. His body is a symphony of muscle, fur, and calm. He weighs like an ox, but moves like a whisper. His fur, dark brown with coppery highlights, blends with the bark of the fir trees, with the peat, with the remains of autumn. His claws, as long as fingers, are not just weapons. They are tools. With them, he digs, tears, climbs, gnaws at roots, or overturns entire trunks to find sleeping grubs. His long, wet snout smells things the human eye cannot imagine. He can detect a corpse from miles away, a ripe blackberry among 1,000 dry leaves, a mouse burrow hidden under the snow. And yet, it's not the voracious predator many imagine. The brown bear is, at its core, a seasonal eater. It feeds on whatever the forest offers: berries, roots, shoots, carrion, and fish when available. Yes, it can hunt, but it rarely needs to. Its diet changes with the light, the altitude, and the month. It eats to live, and it lives to eat, until winter calls. Because there comes a time when the forest folds. The leaves fall, snow covers the paths, and then the bear disappears. He retreats without saying goodbye to a hidden cave, a burrow in the ground, a hollow beneath the roots. There he sleeps, not completely, not like the stories say. He breathes slowly, his heart at a steady pace, but he dreams. He dreams of spring, of salmon, of blueberries, of sunshine. In spring, when the snow begins to melt and the first buds appear, the bear emerges, thin, disheveled, hungry for the world. The first thing is to find food. The second, if the body dictates it, is to find a mate. The males travel great distances. The females, with cubs from the previous year, avoid all encounters. They know that a male can kill her cubs to force a new copulation. Thus, the forest becomes a board of invisible movements, of steps that don't cross, of destinies that are avoided. Mother bears are anything but weak. For over a year they care for, teach, and protect. They walk with their young through bushes, carry them up trees, and push them across rivers. They teach them what to eat, where to hunt, and how not to be seen. Because survival isn't just about being strong. It's about knowing when to disappear. In Norway, the brown bear is not common. It's a dispersed, rare, and closely watched presence. For decades, it was hunted to near extinction. Its fur, its claws, its head, all were trophies. Its reputation, inflated by myths, turned it into a monster. Today, protected, it survives silently. There are areas where its trail can still be found, footprints in the mud, tree trunks marked by claws, scat full of seeds. But it doesn't let itself be seen easily. It shuns humans, and with good reason. When it appears, it provokes emotion, respect, and fear. And yet, attacks on people are almost non-existent. The bear doesn't want war, only space, only forest, only its time. Its impact on the ecosystem is profound. By scattering seeds in its dung, it renews forests. By digging, it aerates the soil. By removing logs, it releases insects that other animals exploit. When it finds a carcass and consumes it, it prevents the spread of disease. It is a forager, a cleaner, a gardener, and yes, a predator. But above all, it restores balance. Its mere existence changes the behavior of other animals. Where there are bears, deer are more cautious. Hares run faster. The cycle is adjusted. But its place in the Norwegian landscape remains delicate. Human territory advances, roads cut off its ancestral roots. Conflicts with livestock farmers rekindle old fears. And although hunting is restricted, some individuals are killed out of fear or by mistake. Their space is shrinking. Their room for maneuver is diminishing. And they, who once roamed freely across almost all of Norway, now choose hidden corners where the moss still protects them. And yet, you only have to see it once to understand it. Not as a threat, not as a story, but as a presence. The brown bear doesn't need to impose itself to be king. It is so by ancestral right, because of its dense silence, because of the way it transforms the forest with every step, because of its deep gaze, which seems to contain an entire winter. Seeing it even once is enough to change something. Because you understand that within that gigantic body lies the memory of the forest, that its slow breathing marks the rhythm of the seasons, and that as long as there are bears, there will be a corner of the world where nature still breathes on its own. Reindeer. At first it feels like a murmur, a faint tremor in the frozen earth, a vibration that runs through the ground without making a sound. Then, in the low mist of dawn, they appear like moving visions, dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of bodies gliding across the Norwegian tundra. It is the migration of the wild reindeer, one of the last that still resonates with the intact rhythm of ancient time. They advance as one breath. The oldest at the front, the mothers in the center, the young sheltered on the periphery. They don't march, they flow. They cross frost-covered valleys, lichen-strewn plains, wind-swept ridges. They know where to go. They haven't learned it, it's inscribed in their blood. A living compass that guides them between seasons, between mountains, between centuries. Unlike their domesticated relatives, these reindeer know neither rope nor bell. They are free reindeer, descendants of herds that once covered all of northern Europe. Today they survive in high refuges, in lands where humans barely touch the landscape. Cold, open areas where the sun barely warms and winter covers everything with a white blanket of silence. Their bodies are endurance machines. No other large mammal can tolerate such cold, such wind, such distance without collapsing. Their fur, hollow inside, traps heat like a natural thermal layer. Their hooves expand like shovels, ideal for walking on soft snow or digging for lichen hidden beneath the frost. In winter, their breath turns to mist when they exhale, but their lungs don't fail them. They keep going. They always keep going. And if you get closer, if you manage to observe unnoticed, you discover the astonishing thing. Both males and females wear antlers. They are the only deer in the world with this equality. Males use them in the fall to fight, to impress. Females, on the other hand, keep them through the winter when they are pregnant. They use them to defend access to food, to ensure the nourishment that will grow in their bellies. Thus, in the struggle for life, antlers also represent motherhood. When the thaw begins and the world once again fills with liquid light, the females seek high places, solitary peaks, without predators. There, amid the snow that has yet to yield, they give birth to a single youngster. A trembling body, long legs, and a new gaze. In a few hours, the newborn must walk. In a few days, it must run. Because the pack doesn't wait, and the wolves don't give warning. There's no permanent attachment in their world. There are no nests, no dens. Everything they have they carry with them. They feed on the ground, the wind, instinct. They sleep where they feel safe. And when the weather changes, they change with it. In summer they rise. In winter they descend, as if dancing to the rhythm of the sky. But the landscape is no longer the same as that of their ancestors. The ancient migration routes, which once connected mountains to fjords, are now blocked. Fences, roads, power lines. The reindeer, once a symbol of open space, now encounters limits, and with them comes erosion. Grazing areas are shrinking. Diseases are increasing. The number of young animals is declining. In Norway, their situation is critical. Only a few truly wild populations remain. Unlike the reindeer domesticated by Sami communities, they don't respond to names or seek shelter. They are the pure spirit of the Arctic. Their existence is protected, but their living space is increasingly fragmented. Reindeer is not a predator. It doesn't impose. It doesn't dominate. And yet its presence transforms the ecosystem. By digging in the snow, it breaks crusts that allow other species access to the moss. Its movements disperse seeds. Its dung fertilizes the soil in spring. Where a herd passes, greenery reappears when the snow recedes. It is an involuntary sower, a gardener of the north. And he's not alone. Others often follow him. Wolves, crows, foxes, some stalk him. Others merely observe him, because the reindeer is also a sign. If there are reindeer, there's a healthy tundra. If they disappear, the entire ecosystem is impoverished. In this fragile balance, the reindeer is the thermometer of a Norway that still breathes with ancient lungs. On the golden afternoons of the northern summer, when the sun hasn't set and the shadows lengthen without disappearing, the herd stops. They graze slowly. They lie down in the grass. They play. They rub against each other. Each one makes a soft, guttural sound like an ancestral murmur, the sound of collective rest, of trust, but it's never complete. There's always someone watching, because calm in nature is only a parenthesis. To observe a reindeer in the wild is to see something more than an animal. It is to see movement transformed into form. It is to see time walk the earth with firm paws. It is to hear the heartbeat of a culture that merges with geography, of a species that walks with the dignity of one who has never forgotten the rhythm of the earth. Because the reindeer doesn't belong to the forest, the mountain, or the tundra. It belongs to the journey, to the invisible line between seasons, to the idea that one can live without stopping, without being tied down, without possessing more than what is necessary to move forward. In that, perhaps, it reminds us of the essential, that true power lies in moving with respect, and that the deepest home can be on one's own path. Ox. When the wind whips across the icy plateaus of central Norway, and the sky curves over a treeless horizon, a figure emerges from the whiteness. It looks like a moving rock, an echo from another era, an animal that shouldn't be there but is. There, where cold is the norm and silence weighs, walks the musk ox. It doesn't run, it doesn't flee. It advances with the slowness of glaciers. Its massive low body is covered in a layer of fur so dense it can trap the warmth of a barely visible sun. The longest hairs brush its ankles, dragging the snow. Beneath, an undercoat, finer than silk, warmer than wool, protects it from the biting wind. It is a natural coat woven by time. Its head is wide as an anvil, curves downward under the weight of thick, sharp horns that aren't just a defense. They're a memory of another era. Because this animal doesn't belong to the modern day. It arrived from the Pleistocene. It shared the earth with mammoths. It survived ice ages. In Norway, it was reintroduced after centuries of absence. And since then, it has endured. It hasn't multiplied like others. It hasn't expanded. It has simply remained, like a living monument to the past. It doesn't live in forests or valleys. It chooses the high plateaus, the highland moors, the territories where the wind sweeps the snow and the landscape seems more mineral than vegetal. In these open spaces, the musk ox is a presence, dark against white, motionless in the face of the storm, as if the weather couldn't touch it. But they are not invulnerable. Their strength lies in unity. They are rarely alone. They live in small groups led by a matriarch. There is hierarchy among them, but also tenderness. They huddle together to sleep, groom each other slowly, and protect each other with ancient discipline. When a wolf approaches, they don't flee. They form a circle, horns outward, the youngest in the center. They remain that way, firm, defiant, until the threat retreats. They attack not out of fury, but out of necessity. Its feeding is patient. It lowers its head, pushes aside the snow with its hooves, and finds lichens, mosses, roots. It eats whatever the tundra allows. Nothing is abundant, everything is sufficient. For hours it repeats the gesture, digging, smelling, eating. Its enormous body needs little. It transforms everything into heat, into fat, into stamina. And when summer arrives, life changes. The ice retreats. The brief flowers of the tundra appear, the soft grasses. The calves are born. Small, fragile, covered in curly, teddy-like fur. In a few minutes, they must stand. In a few hours, they must walk. Because although the musk ox doesn't migrate long distances, it is constantly on the move. It seeks food, shade, water. The calves, still weak, go to the center of the herd. They learn to read the wind, to listen to the cracking of the ice, to not trust stillness. Its sense of smell is keen. Its hearing is alert. But above all, its entire body is an instrument of survival. It tolerates temperatures that would paralyze any other herbivore. It remains standing during storms that break branches. It is a specialist in the extreme, a testament to what silent adaptation can achieve. In Norway, its presence is almost ceremonial. It doesn't inhabit many areas. It stays in protected regions where humans observe it from a distance. Those who see it never forget it, because it's unlike any other. It has something of a bison, something of a goat, something of a legend. It's one of those animals that seems to have come straight out of a rock carving, yet it walks among us. It's not aggressive, but it's not docile either. If you chase it, it charges, with a strength that can break bones, with a speed that belies its shape. Its gaze, small amidst so much fur, doesn't waver. It stares without fear. It stares with the certainty of one who has survived everything but oblivion. Their ecological impact is subtle but essential. When they graze, they cut back vegetation, allowing certain plants to sprout. Their droppings fertilize the poor tundra soil. Their footprints mark paths for other animals to follow. And when they die, their bodies feed scavengers, foxes, even bears. Each individual represents a complete cycle, but its future is not assured. Climate change is creeping up the mountains. Rainfall is becoming more frequent. The ice is becoming treacherous. The number of parasitic insects is growing. The young suffer more. The balance is shattered, and this silent colossus needs stability. With each passing year, its territory faces new challenges, and although it endures, its margins are narrowing. Still, there's something deeply hopeful about his figure, in the way he stands firm when everything is in turmoil, in how he cares for his own without spectacle, in how he exists without asking for anything. The muskox doesn't run, it doesn't sing, it doesn't change. It is, and that's enough. In the Norwegian tundra, when the winter sun barely manages to peek through the clouds, its silhouette stands out against the snow, a reminder of what we once were, of what we still are when we stop running, that there is strength in what endures, and beauty in what remains. Bear. Where Norway ends, and the perpetual ice begins, where the sea freezes into slabs that creak under the weight of the wind and the silence, there lives the last great hunter of the north. There are no trees, no roads, only a white horizon that merges with the sky, and in the midst of that vast, frozen nothingness, a figure appears that cuts through the mist with its mere presence, the polar bear. In Svalbard, a remote archipelago bathed by the waters of the Arctic, the polar bear isn't a visitor, it's sovereign. Here, no one hunts for it with hidden cameras. Here, it's everywhere, even if no one sees it. It walks among frozen fjords, on glaciers that crack the earth, among islands that float like shadows in an ocean that seems asleep. The ice is its home. Solitude, its companion. Its body is a marvel of the cold, larger than any other terrestrial carnivore, covered by black fur that traps the faintest sunlight, and 2 layers of translucent fur that reflect the snow and camouflage it perfectly. It isn't white, it's invisible. Among ice floes, its silhouette dissolves like vapor. Only its eyes, dark and fixed, betray it, or the reflection of its breath when it stops. His gait is hypnotic. He doesn't run, he doesn't hurry. He walks as if eternity doesn't weigh on him. Each stride is a declaration of dominance. He can travel dozens of kilometers without rest, searching for seals breathing between holes in the ice, tracks that only he seems to decipher. He is patient. He lies down next to a vent, waits for hours. He doesn't move. He doesn't breathe hard. And when the seal appears, he attacks, without warning, without error. But they don't always find it, because the ice isn't what it used to be. It forms later. It breaks up sooner. And the bear, which once hunted on endless slabs, now swims among scattered fragments. It can swim for hours, entire kilometers. It has always done so. But now, more often than not, the cubs can't resist. They sink. They die, because the sea is getting wider, and refuge is getting farther away. The female, when pregnant, seeks a snow cave, a sheltered hollow. There, in the middle of winter, she gives birth. 1, maybe 2 cubs, small as gloves, blind, dependent. For weeks she warms them with her body, feeding them with the fat accumulated from her summer hunt. She doesn't eat, she doesn't go out, she only gives, until day breaks and the light returns. Then she breaks open the entrance and returns to the white world with her young in tow. The cubs' first steps are on icy snow. Their mother guides them, protects them, teaches them to smell the wind, to fear the sea, to search for food, to flee from the adult male who can kill them. Because in the polar bear's world, tenderness isn't universal. Only the mother cares, only she teaches, only she gives warmth. In the polar ecosystem, it is the apex. There is no other higher. It eats what others cannot reach. It regulates populations. Its presence keeps the chains alive. When it leaves remains, others feed. Arctic foxes, gulls, even sea scavengers. Its most frequent prey is the ringed seal. But it is not blind to need. It eats eggs, algae, carcasses. When scarcity is pressing, there is no pride, only survival. And yet, his world is crumbling. Year after year, the sea ice shrinks. Hunting becomes more difficult, the distances longer, the energy expended higher. Some bears are starving. Others are approaching human settlements, guided by the scent of garbage. The change isn't sudden, but it's constant. And each year, he takes a little more than he needs to remain king. In Svalbard, its image is omnipresent, on signs, on maps, in educational campaigns. It's a symbol of pride, but also of warning. Here, the polar bear isn't a distant mystery. It's a neighbor. And like any powerful neighbor, it commands respect. Anyone who leaves the boundaries of a village must carry a rifle, not to hunt, to deter. Because if a bear feels cornered, it charges. Not out of malice, out of nature. But to see him free, walking among ice floes, head bowed and body relaxed, is to witness something beyond the animal. It's to see pure strength, solitude transformed into form. Cold made flesh. His gaze isn't that of a beast. It's that of a being who has seen more winters than civilizations, who has lived beyond memory. The impact of its presence is twofold, ecological and emotional. In the ice, it is a regulator. In the human heart, it is a symbol of what endures, of what is in danger, of what is still wild. Its struggle is not its own. It is that of a warming planet, of a tilting balance, of a melting future. And yet, as long as there's ice, he'll be there, howling through the cracks, teaching his young not to give up. Walking soundlessly through landscapes the world is only just beginning to understand. His existence is a silent prayer to winter, a living resistance, a promise that hopefully won't be the last. Walrus. On the liquid border of northern Norway, where sea and ice compete for dominance of the landscape, a guttural sound mingles with the creaking of icebergs. It's a deep, low, almost cavernous roar. It comes from immense bodies resting in piles on the icy shore. They are walruses, guardians of the waters of Svalbard, living forms that seem sculpted in glacial mud, resplendent in the blue Arctic light. They don't move gracefully. Their terrestrial gait is a mixture of effort and sway. They kick, push, and slide. Sometimes they collide, sometimes they grunt, but they are always together. The walrus doesn't live alone. It forms groups that breathe in unison, that sleep and keep warm. Noisy, odorous, chaotic, but deeply organized herds. There are subtle hierarchies. There are veterans with worn tusks. There are young ones clinging to their mother's sides, seeking shade or milk. Their bodies are colossal. They may weigh more than a car, but they are built to float. Beneath their thick, wrinkled skin, a layer of fat gives them shape, energy, and buoyancy. The sun barely touches their surface, but within that warm, vibrant mass, an ancestral force throbs. They are heirs to a lineage that has known these waters since before humans. Their emblem, their tusks, sprout like curved spears from a whiskered snout. They don't use them for hunting. They're tools. They use them to break ice, defend themselves, and climb ice floes. They're also symbols. The longer they are, the more respected they are. In males, mourning isn't always physical. Often, simply displaying them is enough. In females, they are protective. And in both, they are identity. Underwater, their clumsiness disappears. There they transform. They descend like fluid shadows, propelled by hind fins that drag on land. They dive in search of food. Their specialty, mollusks, especially clams that lie beneath the seabed. With their tactile whiskers, they explore the sand. They don't see, they don't hear well, but they feel everything. They suck in their prey with a sharp movement without needing to bite. They swallow dozens, hundreds. Then they emerge, exhaling a white cloud that dissolves in the wind. Walruses can remain underwater for long minutes, diving to depths other mammals avoid. And when they emerge, they do so in groups. They climb one by one onto floating platforms, huddle on pebble beaches, and share space with the same ritual grunts that have echoed for centuries. The young are born on the ice or on the coast after a long gestation in the brief height of the polar summer. Their mothers nurse them devotedly, accompany them, in the water and defend them with their entire body weight if necessary. Sometimes they lean on them like living pillows, but this physical contact isn't neglect, it's a bond. In a world that is falling apart, warmth is shared. In the Arctic, walruses aren't top predators. They're large, yes, but vulnerable. Orcas and polar bears pose real threats, especially to the young. When they feel threatened, they all band together. The collective body is the defense. Circles of flesh that rearrange themselves, bellows that warn, splashes that hide. The herd becomes a fortress. For centuries, indiscriminate hunting decimated their populations. Their fat, their tusks, their meat were coveted by whalers, settlers, and traders. In Svalbard, they were brought to the brink of extinction. Only in recent decades, with strict protection and marine reserves, have their numbers begun to recover. They're still nowhere near what they once were, but they're back, and their presence is a symbol of a wound trying to heal. However, the danger has not disappeared. Today, the enemy no longer carries a harpoon. It is invisible, silent, global, the melting. Every year, the sea ice retreats, and with it, the places where they rest, where they calve, where they seek protection. Walruses don't just need the sea, they need the floating ice. It's their life platform. Without it, they are forced to travel long distances. Sometimes they die on land from exhaustion. Sometimes the pups are separated in the chaos. What was once a refuge is now a wasteland. Furthermore, the increase in maritime traffic and polar tourism introduces noise, pollution, and disturbance. Walruses are sociable, but not with us. They need peace, space, their own rhythm. And yet, watching it is a transformative experience. There's something disarming about its slowness, in its opaque yet serene gaze, in the way it lets itself fall upon another as if the world didn't exist. Watching a sleeping herd in the Arctic sun is like seeing time itself suspended. A reminder that life doesn't always have to be fast to be fulfilling. The walrus transforms its environment. Its search for food stirs the seafloor, aerates sediments, and allows other species access to nutrients. Their bodies, when they die, feed entire ecosystems. Their excrement fertilizes the plankton that starts the chain. It's more than a symbol, it's a cog, and it is also a mirror, because in its vulnerability, in its struggle to find ice where there always was before, we see our own fragility. Our dependence on balance, our inability to live outside the environment we destroyed. Still, the walruses endure, just as they always have. They keep rising from the sea with their heavy snorts. They keep piling up on beaches that tremble under their weight. They keep teaching their young to dive, and as long as they do, there will be a hope floating among the ice. That life, even the slowest, even the clumsiest, still deserves its place in the world.